Hi there, welcome back to Posture Labs and Alignment Fundamentals. My name is Emma. Thank you so much for being here. We are on episode 13, and today we will be covering Prasarita Padottanasana, or wide leg forward fold. This pose has lots of different variations. Like you've probably learned, they all do. So I will go over the most common, but you can always do this pose with a bind, with your hands on your waist. There's A, B, C, D in the Ashtanga primary series, and I am sure there's plenty more. There's also different little made-up variations or different little stretches you can do while you're in this pose that you might see in a vinyasa class, maybe even one of my classes that I release on Wednesdays. But I will go over the correct alignment and then some of the different variations for you. But just know I probably will not cover every single variation of this pose. We will get started standing, facing the long edge of the mat. Your feet should be if you extend your arms out, I want your feet, your ankles underneath your wrists. So I'm not sure what this stance is called, but ankles under your wrists. Make sure your toes are pointing forward towards the long edge of your mat or even slightly in. It's going to help the rotation of your thighs. I just don't want your toes pointing out, as that's dangerous on your knees. All right, so now that I've got my feet set up, how do we want the arms? Let's start with the hands to the waist, and then we'll go ahead and go over some other options. So I want you to take an inhale with your hands on your waist. Exhale, slightly bend the knees if you need to as you hinge and fold towards the mat. Now once you come down, bring your hands to the mat and line your fingertips up with your toe tips. Once you get down, if you don't have one of those mats that has like lines on it, you might need to readjust your feet and your hands. That's okay. I want your arms like chaturanga. So you're bending your elbows back. You are not bending your elbows out to the sides. Elbows back like chaturanga. And you're almost kind of pressing into your hands like you're trying to slide a piece of paper forward. So active press, that's going to help you lift your tailbone and get the crown of your head towards the mat. Now here you'll be feeling a lot through your hamstrings. Micro bend the knees if you need to, and really press through all four corners of your feet, especially into the outer edges of your feet, since those are the harder ones to get down. Avoid gripping the mat with your toes, but try to kind of tip your weight a little bit forward. So you're not really gripping with your toes, but you're leaning your weight forward. The more you pull your belly button up towards your tailbone, the higher your hips, your tailbone will lift, and the more fold you will be capable of. Think about the more you engage the front of your body, the more you can lengthen the backside. My shoulders are away from my ears, nice long spine. Neck is relaxed. I'm not trying to hold my head up. I'm imagining I have a weight in the crown of my head that's pulling it down. Now I might like to even walk my hands back a little bit further and continue to press down. I'm squeezing my shoulders, pressing the outer edges of my feet down, pulling the belly button up and in and lifting through my pelvic floor. And release. All right. Now that is just one option of the pose. This is a very challenging pose for people who don't practice yoga super often and are not used to forward folding a lot. We do a lot of folds in yoga, so it looks easy for me. However, this is a pose that when I see beginners come to class, they really do struggle with this one. So you might like to grab a block or two and kind of put that in front of you and pause here. Focus more on your spine being straight than really getting your head all the way down towards the mat. So here I'm really still feeling the stretch through the back of the hamstrings, and maybe I start to walk the block a little bit further back as my head drops a little closer to the mat. Now, you can always put a little bend into the knees. What you might find useful if you don't feel like this is super conducive to your goals, you might find that more of like a little side, like a moving in your wide leg folds, a little moving side to side is actually getting you a better stretch into your inner thighs and the backs of your legs. And then maybe eventually you feel, stretched out enough to hold this wide leg forward fold. However, putting a little bend into the knees, maybe rocking the hips side to side is something I would recommend to kind of loosen up the backs of the legs. Now, there's a few other variations of this pose. There is peace sign fingers to your big toes. So you kind of get in the same way, hands to your waist, inhale. Exhale, hinge and fold. Then you go ahead, take your peace sign fingers, grab your big toes, use your thumbs to cap your big toe. On your inhale, lengthen your spine. So that's getting the length through the waist. You want to try to keep that as you fold and pull. Kind of just like in our Padottanasana, when we grab our big toes and pull, same idea here. So you're feeling some space between the shoulders away from ears, so the neck is nice and long, head hanging heavy. Squeezing the legs, kind of tipping some weight a little bit forward, drawing shoulder blades a little bit together, crown of the head sinking. Really working the exhale on these folds will help you find a deeper expression. And release. So to do that, you release, come up halfway, release your hands. Bring your hands to your waist and stand all the way back up. Now, we could also do this with a bind behind the back. This is only going to be if you feel you have a pretty good foundation with the fold itself. Now we're adding in this nice shoulder stretch. Bind your hands behind your back. Inhale. Lift through your sternum. Try to keep your spine nice and flat. Keep the length through your waist as you fold forward. I like to put a little bend in the knees on this one. You might not even be able to see. It's just a tiny little micro bend. The arms waterfall up and over. On my inhale, I'm thinking about pulling my sternum out a little bit. So kind of getting that length again through the waist, and then exhale, folding. So the inhales, I lengthen through the waist, sternum lifts a little, exhales, fold, squeeze. Think belly button up towards tailbone, crown of the head sinking. And release that. All right. Those are the main 3 variations. However, you might also find that teachers teach you like twists or I don't know, some other fun stuff in a wide leg forward fold. So for example, you could come into your forward fold. You might put your right hand down and twist to the left. Now as you do this, your hips will shift to the left. You want to kind of shift them back to the right. You're expanding your chest. So you're not getting so much of a fold out of this. It's more like a standing twist. Still getting a little stretch through the back of the hamstrings, I suppose. Maybe do that on the other side. You might also do a twist, but a little bit more dramatic. So maybe I'm kind of walking and taking my left hand to grab my right ankle. Then I'm going to lean over to the left and reach my right arm up. So now I'm kind of using my left hand to my right ankle as leverage. I could also take my right arm behind my back. And maybe do that on the other side. Right hand grabbing left ankle, leaning to the right, reaching left arm up. Staying there or taking left arm behind the back and thinking about the spine being nice and long, not dumping. Tailbone back, crown of the head forward, and release that. Some other things you might like to do here is something like a challenging little half lift. Arms out nice and wide, so now you're really using the strength of your legs. This can really help to activate the muscles that you're going to be using in these folds. It's holding halfway, arms out wide. That's about it. That's all I have for this pose, Prasarita Padottanasana. I'm trying to think if there's really any other tips and tricks. Really, it is a forward fold, so always feel free to put a little bend in your knees. Really use your core and your exhales to your advantage. Those are things that are going to help you fold. Think about relaxing your neck. You don't need to hold your head up here. Just let it hang completely heavy. The more you practice it, the easier it will become, but don't force it. Now, taking the feet out wider than that stance I recommended might make it a little bit easier for you to fold, but you'll probably feel more of a stretch through like your inner thighs and your hamstrings. So it kind of just depends on your body, and if that works a little bit better for you, by all means, go for it and let me know what you think. If there's anything I missed about wide leg forward fold, please let me know in the comments, or if you have specific cues that you really like and are really helpful to you, also let me know. I'm always open to learning something new. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button, and check back next week.